Woo! Make it two. Make it two in a row, fellas. How about them Celtics? Come on. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Celtics Talk weekly post-game show. I am your host, Robbie Haytayan. Joined with me is my co-host, Seamus Zarlingo. And joining us just shortly is our other co-host, Andrew Quinn. Seamus, the Celtics pick up their second win in a row at home, this time at the TD Garden against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 3-1, now 3-2 Cleveland Cavaliers of the Boston Celtics advance to 2-3 on this early 2025-2026 season. A lot to talk about, Seamus, here tonight. But again, we came on here last game against the Pelicans, and we were saying, okay, it was a nice win. Can they build some momentum? We had a lot of questions about the Celtics still brewing from those first four games. They come out tonight on the TD Garden on the parquet floor. And I'll tell you what, Seamus, they impressed me. That's for sure. However, you know the drill here. Your initial thoughts, reaction, takeaways, talking points, anything you want to get off your chest, good or bad, on tonight's victory.
Well, first, the Celtics, can we get these looks every single night? Because this offense tonight for the Celtics looked a lot different than offenses the last couple of games, really, to start the season. That's been a huge problem with the Celtics. We've been talking about the rebounding, the defensive mistakes, but also offensively, the team has just not held any rhythm or flow. Tonight, the rhythm and flow, it was a lot better for the Celtics. And the Celtics, we saw, they were a lot more decisive with a lot of their actions on the offensive end of the floor, and it led to a lot of open shots, particularly in the first half when the Celtics put up 40 points in the first quarter and then 75 for the half. I mean, the defense wasn't too great in the first quarter. The Celtics allowed 42 points on top of scoring 40. So the Celtics didn't even lead after the first quarter, despite scoring 40 points. But that second quarter is the quarter we've been talking about, right? Where the Celtics, if they can keep the margin throughout the rest of the game, if they can come up with a dominant quarter, like they've been giving up, quite honestly, right? They've been giving up those quarters, but Celtics last game, right? The Celtics last game, they came up with that one dominant quarter, and tonight they did the same. That second quarter, the Celtics outscored the Cavs 35-18, and we saw the Celtics, they were turning the Cavs over, and not only that, the Celtics were converting on the offensive end of the floor, and a big part of that, too, was rebounding. Rebounding has been a problem of the Celtics team going back to the beginning of the preseason, and tonight, we thought coming into this game, all right, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, they're just gonna, they're gonna whoop the Celtics on the boards, right? That's not the story at all. That's not what happened at all. At halftime, the Celtics held a substantial lead in the rebounding category, especially the offensive rebounding category. The Celtics grabbed 9 offensive rebounds in that first half to the Cavaliers 2. And then in total, I believe the Celtics had 28, if I'm not mistaken, 28 rebounds in the first half to the Cavaliers. I don't remember what the Cavaliers total was in the first half, but ultimately, or actually we have the number right here, 15. So 28-15 in the first half. So the Celtics right there, defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, that was the difference. I mean, that was seriously the difference. Even second chance points, we look at it in the first half, 16-3, and then points in the paint as well, 18-8 in favor of the Celtics. And the Celtics shot the ball better and they took more shots. So it's again with that conversation we had, it goes along with that conversation we had last post game of the Celtics shooting more often and shooting at a higher clip. That's what the Celtics did in the first half, particularly. And that's where the Celtics really ran away with this game. In the second half, it was more about maintaining the lead, especially late there in that third quarter when it felt like, oh, the Cavs, they're mounting their comeback here, but they never. The Celtics gave the Cavs as many opportunities as they wanted down the stretch, but it felt like it was Evan Mobley 3 after Evan Mobley 3, and it was miss. And I didn't really understand the Cavs' philosophy in this game, and I really chalked up their performance to they don't really care at the early portion of the season, plus all the injuries, right? Darius Garland not playing in this one, Sam Merrill not playing in this one either, and the Cavs just looked like an incomplete team. At points, I thought, the Cavs, I don't know, their win total is 56.5 this season. And looking at the rest of the East, you wouldn't pinpoint, this team's going to be above the Cavs. But the Cavs just don't really look like a complete team right now, 5 games into the season. I would like to see this matchup further down the line because I feel like this could be not a turning point for these two clubs, but kind of all all right, the Celtics are starting to get their groove together, and we're starting to notice some of the cracks and the leaks in the Cavaliers ship right now.
Right. I was so impressed with tonight's win. Let me just say that. And you're so right. The rebounding, I mean, that is something we talked about. I mean, we were joking about it, right? Griffin was on here joking like, Garza, just go out there. Luka, just don't get killed, right? Don't get embarrassed. Don't get your lunch money stolen by Mobley and Allen. And it was just the opposite for the Celtics now. I mean, they impressed Neemias Queta, Luka Garza, and Josh Minott came out there and they put together quite frankly, probably for the three of them's best performances that they've had, definitely in Green. In terms of Minott and Garza, and Neemias was, I mean, he looked the most polished, right? Neemias Queta looked the most big man NBA ready he's looked in a Celtics jersey tonight. His timing was there, his aggressiveness was there. He was smart with his fouls, with his jumps, with everything. I mean, he was in the right spots. It was very impressive from Neemias Queta tonight. And then Celtics from an offensive standpoint, I mean, this is a trend that I'm starting for these first two games, at least these wins that I've noticed is, it's Brown and someone else. You're going to get Brown's punch and you're going to get one other guy. Last night or the other night, Monday night, was Anthony Simons with his 25. Tonight was Sam Hauser with his 21. Like that's going to be the Celtics team's identity. I think this year is you're going to get a scoring punch from one other guy this season, whether it's Pritchard, whether it's White, whether it's Brown, right? You're going to get one of those three, and it's going to be one other of the guys off the bench. Tonight it was Hauser, but I really like what Boston did from an offensive standpoint. And then really, I mean, we'd be crazy not to say what won Boston this game tonight was their rebounding. 52-42 rebounding win for the Boston Celtics. I mean, against this team, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley and company, I mean, Larry Nance, this is a big physical Cavaliers team. I mean, a phenomenal job from Boston. Now, another talking point I need to hit on real quick, just initial thoughts, is I think Donovan Mitchell came into tonight, was questionable. And I think that he lingered through the second half. He did not score a point in the second half. He came out on fire in that first quarter into the second quarter. And Boston did a good job. I think they did a stellar job at doing just enough to contain Mitchell, but I believe Mitchell was settling a lot tonight. I think Cleveland, you said it with Mobley. I don't know what their philosophy was tonight. It felt like they were a little lazy. And honestly, Seamus, it felt like we were watching last year's Boston Celtics with the Cleveland Cavaliers play last year's Cleveland Cavaliers with the Boston Celtics this year. And I will say this, it was funny as I'm watching tonight's game, and maybe it was Doris Burke said it on the broadcast, but Boston has gone from the hunted to now hunting. I mean, the Celtics are chasing the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, those top teams. And, in the regular season, so many times, I mean, how many times have we seen a Celtics Cavs game, a Celtics Knicks game in the regular season where we walk in and it's like, they don't have a Garland tonight. Yeah, we're good. Oh yeah, we're good. The Cavs walked in, no Jason Tatum, Celtics 1-3. Oh, we're going to be fine. We'll be able to shoot ourselves, to victory. Who does that sound like, folks? That sounds like the old Boston Celtics, the team that eventually went on to win an NBA championship. But, for me, that is what is my biggest takeaways. Let's take a look at the lead tracker tonight here, Seamus. Sea of green for the Boston Celtics. And, it was all pouring in on that third quarter. You can take a look. The first quarter was a shootout, 42-40 in that first quarter, going back and forth. The Boston Celtics had an absolute barrage of three-pointers coming in there alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers. How about Sam Hauser tonight, guys? We're going to talk about him in a little bit. 12 points in that first quarter, 4 of 4 from behind the arc. He was absolutely just nails coming off the bench for the Celtics. And really the whole game, he finished with 21. But again, in that third quarter and that second quarter, the Celtics just absolutely ran away with this game. Largest lead of the night for the Boston Celtics, 20. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, 5 points. 7 times tied tonight. The longest run of the game was the Boston Celtics in their 9-point run. And again, 9 lead changes all coming in that first half. Again, the Celtics took the lead late, in that second quarter, and they never looked back. They remained in front for the entire second half. Guys, there is so much to talk about. This is, in my opinion, the textbook lead tracker. This is what you want to see for the Boston Celtics in a win at home on the parquet. As Andrew Quinn joins us here. Guys, what did we think about the Celtics' ability in that second half to go out? And Seamus, we good here?
We're good. We're total.
Okay.
We're good. Just keep going with
We're
it. Flow with it.
oh, we're good.
How do we feel, Andrew? Obviously, you're just joining us in. I'll start it open with you. How did we feel about the Celtics' performance in that second half, and what exactly did they do to take that lead?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that second half, it's really just the Celtics' ability to just I feel like just really get defensive stops, I mean? Just working together, eliminating, rebounds and playing together defensively on that end. But then offensively, it's just playing together with like a little more fluidity, a little more, getting on into transition, getting, not settling on the offensive end, not waiting late into the shot clock to get into a bad offensive shot. Like we needed to be a little more fluid offensively as a team in this game, and I think that was shown. And so I was really happy to see that.
Griffin,
I'm
hello,
here.
welcome.
I was waiting for him to say something.
Oh, sorry.
The one time.
I was just I was waiting for what's the question, and I got you guys with the answer.
Okay, well, first of all,
Your initial
Griffin,
thoughts, my guy.
Yeah.
Initial
what you got
thoughts.
for
All
us?
right, my bad. Initial thoughts. What a win from the Boston Celtics. I mean, the energy was there from the start of the game, and they looked offensively synced. And I said it might take a while for the Boston Celtics to kind of connect and build that chemistry. However, the Boston Celtics look like they've been together for about a year and a half now because they were going on all sides of the ball. Obviously, there's still some stuff to nitpick on, but I just thought overall a very well team win. I mean, 8 players and double-digit points. It was just incredible. And, it looks like they've been playing together for a while. And I just saw a lot of things that I loved. I love the intensity. I love how well they were shooting the 3-ball earlier in the game. And I love, this Cleveland Cavaliers team. We projected, Seamus and I talked about it with predictions. We talked that they're going to be a top 3 team seed in the East. And the Boston Celtics did not just beat them, they crushed them tonight. So what a big team win. And I saw a lot of things that I really loved from the Boston Celtics. And it's now, you look at the first game, you look at that game versus the Sixers, you look at the game versus the Knicks. This game, I think, was the most important, and they had a statement win on it. So I'm very impressed with the Boston Celtics. And the eyes are going to be looking at this team now because I think it's going to make us question, are we going to keep playing 500 ball, or are we going to have games where we, will show up for and show down? And I just said this, like the Boston Celtics are taking the losses that they had earlier in the season, those first 3 losses, and they're taking it in the chin and they are responding. And I really love the energy that we transferred from the fourth quarter of that Pelicans game all the way over to this game, and we played with that intensity throughout the game. So great team win. Super impressed with the Celtics tonight. And I saw a lot of things that I'm very high on. And I think if we keep this going, we're going to be a team to keep eyes on, because I don't know where we will go, but we're a team to keep eyes on if we keep playing like this.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Through the first 5 games, I believe the Boston Celtics have showed us just how bad they can be and just how good they can be. So, 5 games here, the Celtics, I think, showing us their best version and showing us the worst version. I think the question is what version are you going to get more out of the Boston Celtics? But, guys, as for tonight, the Celtics absolutely broke through, opening up the game before halftime with a huge 20-3 run to end the first half. Seamus, let's start with you. How exactly did the Celtics run past Cleveland during those moments of the first half?
Well, for me, it started on the defensive end of the floor, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier with Cleveland's laziness on that end. Their execution just wasn't all that great. And the Celtics, obviously, they only held them to 18 in that quarter. And then on the other end of the floor, it was the open shots, especially the open shots in transition. When the Celtics are running, I'm a little skeptical on if that's their best game. But if they're hitting shots at the clip they're hitting at, and they're actually generating more possessions for themselves in which they were, I mean, that's definitely a good formula to have as a team. I mean, obviously, when you're hitting at a higher clip and taking more shots, that's just going to put more points on the board for you. The only other discrepancy, you're looking at free throws right after that. And the Celtics in that second quarter, I mean, they were hitting shot after shot, and it was the generated open looks. That to me was the difference tonight between tonight and all of the rest of the Celtics games. All of those other games, there were a lot of mid-range shots, dribbling into nowhere, a lot of isolation. Tonight, the ball was flowing a lot more unselfishness out there. It felt like Peyton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown specifically, those two with the ball in their hands, they were willing to make the extra pass tonight. It wasn't, I'm going to get myself into a rough situation. I have to do everything. And you think about the first couple games, right? The season opener against Philadelphia, that's a wildly hyped game, right? Friday night at New York. That one is a highly anticipated game. Those two games felt like the Celtics came in, and specifically Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard, they came into those games and thought, all right, I need to be the guy. Even Simons to some degree was playing a little off ball and wasn't sure. He's kind of in that role of I'm not sure when to attack and when at what moments, but at every single moment in which every ball handler received the ball in those first two games, felt like they were trying to do more than what they should have been doing. And tonight, it feels like the throttle has been shifted back a little bit, but it's at the gear in which the Celtics need to play at, right? If they're playing this up-tempo game in which everybody is trying to score on their own, this wildly isolation-heavy game, right? It's not going to work, right? This team has to be unselfish. This team has to generate the open looks. That's efficient basketball. And it's the type of basketball in which won this team a lot of games over the last 4 seasons with different players, right? And now with a new set of guys in, they're trying to learn the new standard. And I shouldn't say the new standard, but the new way to win within this club that is also built off of the old standard, right? It's new guys with the same standard as the past, but the path in which to achieve that standard is a lot different right now, right? Different players. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, even Derek White. Derek White, I feel like a larger conversation exists with him that we should probably have later.
Oh yeah, there is.
I didn't add that in because we won and it's more of a negative conversation. But even with him, right? Even with him.
Sorry.
I mean, it's not been great. It's not been great so far. But that is part of the example, right? Because Derek White, he's taking on a new role and the numbers don't look great, right? Jaylen Brown, the first couple games, the shooting numbers looked great. The film didn't look great. Peyton Pritchard, Simons, mixed returns in between them. So right now, the Celtics, especially that second quarter, feels like they're starting to get their groove together a little bit more. I already said that, but it's true. The Celtics tonight, that is what won them the game. The unselfishness on the offensive end of the floor, along with when the open shots were presented to the Celtics, they actually hit them at a high rate and an efficient rate as well, in which they just weren't doing the first couple of games. And furthermore, the first couple of games, people look at those, they'd say, oh, well, the Celtics, they just need to hit their shots. Oh, they just need to hit their shots. No, the Celtics need to generate open looks. That was the huge theme of the 21-22 team. In 2021, we could almost split it up by a year, right? The 2021 and the 2022 squad, right? The same season, but 2 different years. 2021, that team, it was much like the offense we saw the first couple of games. It was they were dribbling into nowhere, a lot of weird last-second passes, a lot of contested shots, a lot of mid-range shots. And then, of course, the second half of the season, Derek White, he's traded to the Celtics. And, there's a lot more detail, but the Celtics started to generate a lot more open looks. And from that, they started to hit at a higher rate. They started to hit at a higher clip. Well, that's the same thing tonight with this team. I mean, it's the same theme tonight. This team, particularly the first couple games, they were not generating those open looks as much as they were tonight. And that was basically the bottom line of that second quarter, outside of maintaining the Cavaliers defensively, maintaining the Cavs defensively, and then on the other end, actually converting to the highest level in which the Celtics were able to convert at. Because, yes, the Celtics, there were some transition opportunities. They won the turnover battle in the first half, but it wasn't as if that, right? We always talk about the Celtics running in transition and creating turnovers and creating more opportunities for themselves. It wasn't just that. There were portions of that, but it was really the Celtics performing at their best on the offensive end of the floor while also just holding suit defensively.
Griffin, did you get your Wi-Fi out of a Happy Meal right now? What is going on with it?
What do you mean? Here, do you want me to leave
a Happy Meal?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Bro's
No,
looking like
you're good.
Pac-Man right now.
I'm sorry.
Like I said,
It does
the
look
Wi-
like he's underwater. It looks like
Well, I have to say, Seamus, we talked about this one time. I told you're like, how's your Wi-Fi messing in Maine? Well, it happens. I'm not gonna disclose any more information of where I live again.
Griffin's doing his underwater workout over.
I am. I'm
over
doing the
his
Jalen
house.
Brown workout.
That's awesome right there. But I'm on board with you, Seamus, in terms of there was one play in particular. I texted into the group chat during the game. It was a Pritchard, Garza, Hauser. I'm pretty sure it was definitely maybe Nemias Queta, but I'm pretty sure it was Garza. And it was an action on the top left of the key, the 3-point line of that wing area. And it was an on ball for Pritchard, and then Garza flared instead of an off ball for Hauser, and Pritchard found Hauser. And I remember watching that. And I texted, I said, that might have been the best drawn up play we have seen in the Joe Mazzulla Boston Celtics era. It was the timing was perfect. The look was perfect. The execution was perfect. And Seamus, I think you're absolutely right. Like, the Celtics generated open looks tonight. Yes, they shot the ball pretty well from behind the arc, but it wasn't outside of Derek White, who again we are going to get into Derek White. But they were generating some amazing looks. They were driving, they were kicking, the ball was rotating, guys. So I mean, I absolutely loved what we saw out of Boston in that second quarter, to end that second quarter going into halftime, and even coming out of halftime. I mean, they were phenomenal there. I want to have a conversation about Cleveland next. In this one, I know we're a Celtics podcast, but this one it's Seamus, we talked about it briefly, guys, before Andrew and Griffin, before you guys got on. We were off air though. Is this Cleveland Cavaliers team? We talked a little bit about, complacency. Is this Cavs team, their over under was 56.5 set by Vegas? I mean, that is a high over under. I mean, a 58 win or 57 win season is no easy feat. Is this Cavs team as good as we think? Or, they lose Ty Jerome in free agency, who was the 6th man of the year candidate, but they bring in. You're laughing at his internet right now, aren't you, Andrew?
Yeah, I can't help it. He's looking over here. He's looking for. Are you looking for the end of that cable?
It looks like you got a 2001 first ever stream camera. But yeah, the first iPhone.
Checking in with Griffin from 2005 here. Guys ever see that guy on Instagram? He's going to all these NBA arenas. He's from 2005. It's like Griffin's got it. I mean, that guy filmed in 4K HD. I mean, Griffin has it all. I mean, Griffin has the details. Like, you got to get the camera shot right too. You have the little date at the top too, where it's like,
we're like the red with the red. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 second.
All right. Give Griffin.
Rob was cooking too. That's my bad for smiling.
No, you know what?
I could not help it.
It's my job to keep the show, under control, and I had to. The comedy's too there. Guys, back to Cleveland though. Obviously, 56.5 wins is their over under for the season. I believe there is a conversation to be had now on this program about the Cleveland Cavaliers in their place in the Eastern Conference, and whether or not Boston exactly is still looking up to these guys. So when you look at a team like Cleveland, are they going to be as good as people think? I mean, is this they're first in the East last year, second in the NBA? Can they repeat what they did last year?
Well, for me, wait, is Griffin coming back in here?
Let's get him back in here. Let's get him.
Am I good now?
I couldn't take that seriously.
You've upgraded to 2012.
Yeah,
we're good
steps.
You're only a decade
behind.
behind.
A couple years there, I guess. I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But the Cleveland Cavaliers, first of all, Lonzo Ball didn't know Cleveland had water. I'm not sure if Cleveland has internet, so don't worry about your internet. Because Cleveland and this conversation, we shouldn't even worry about Cleveland when it comes to this conversation either, because they might not see it, right? Do they even have internet? I'm not sure. I know Portland, that was a big conversation with them, but ultimately the Cavaliers this season, I'm looking at them going, all right, their roster I understand the hype surrounding this roster, right? The double bigs, one of the best backcourts in the league, a competent slew of wings on their roster, and even the addition of Lonzo Ball, right? Lonzo's playing well. You gotta admit that. But Cleveland tonight, right? Very much symbolized a team, and they mentioned it on the broadcast, and it's one of the biggest narratives I feel with this team that's not people aren't talking about it too in depth right now, but it'll start to come up, right? If any more losses start to rack up for the Cavs, they're right now 3-2. They started last season 15-0, so already they're behind that mark, but still 5 games, small sample size. However, the Cavs, the biggest narrative last year, they won 64 games in the regular season, 64. In the playoffs, they were eliminated in the semifinals, right? What they were able to do in the regular season solidified them as a contender and as a serious team, right? Because in the betting market, they're second in win total for the entire league and first in the East, right? They gained that respect by winning 64 games last season. People know the Cavaliers can win regular season games. Clearly, they did it last year. If the championship was based off regular season wins, the Cavaliers did it last year, or at least came in second, right? Or at least came in first in the East, won the East. We know the Cavaliers can win regular season games. They know they can win regular season games. But it's about what they can do in April, May, and June. That's what they mentioned on the broadcast. That's what Donovan Mitchell mentioned as well. And right now, the Cavaliers, it looks like they don't really care about this part of the season. Coming into tonight, I know a couple injuries. Merrill, that was a freak injury, and Garland, he's been out since last season. A lot of concern, I got to say, with Darius Garland because toe injury for a smaller guard who relies on quickness, and he's been out the entirety of the offseason up until this point. Not great. Just saying, not great. It's not guaranteed he comes back and lights up the entire NBA right away. It could take him some time to come back. But that's the point here is the Cavaliers don't look ready to go. And if they're just taking this approach of, well, we know we can win in the regular season, it's about what we can do later on down the line. We've seen this countless times in the NBA. We've seen it with the Celtics before. We saw it last season, 24-25, that Celtics team. And then the more notable one is 18-19, when that team the year before made the conference finals. And then the next year went, oh, well, wait till the playoffs come around. Wait till the playoffs. That's what Kyrie always said. Wait till the playoffs come around. Then we'll really get it going. We already know we can win in the regular season and even the playoffs. Just wait. That's where it feels like this Cavs team is right now, where they're going 2 straight years of failure in the semifinals with high expectations after trading for Donovan Mitchell and even the year before eliminated in the first round. So after building those expectations, eliminated in the first round, eliminated in the semifinals, eliminated in the semifinals after achieving the 1 seed last year, this year it feels like, all right, do the Cavs care about the regular season? Do they care about the process to actually getting to the playoffs and performing in the playoffs? That's the huge question with this Cavaliers team right now. And the returns so far, tonight especially, didn't look like the Cavs were playing serious ball at all. And that concerns me for later on down the line with this team. I understand the East is weak, but there are teams in the East who are going to threaten the Cavs. It's not exactly a definitive, oh, the Cavs are just better than everybody else. I mean, we look at some lineups out there tonight. I mean, they're playing Jalen Tyson. They started Jalen Tyson. I mean, they're playing.
He had a solid night though. Tyson
well.
impressed.
But I'm
But
saying, like,
I agree,
the
though.
players in which they're playing on a consistent basis, you're not sitting there going, oh, yeah, I want him to start consistently, or I want him in a playoff rotation for X amount of minutes. I mean, the Craig Porter Jr. is another guy. I understand these guys are solid, but I'm not necessarily slotting them into huge roles later on down the line. The Cavaliers, as they're constructed right now, are going to have to be healthy. They've shown the ability of not being healthy really in the past whatsoever. And the Cavs, it's very, very early. Just saying, very early. The East is very weak this season. But I'm also saying the Cavs are not necessarily to me, they're not head and shoulders above the rest of the East. I don't necessarily see that. They won 64 games last season with the same squad in which won. I mean, they won somewhere 40, some high 40s the year before, achieved the 5 seed or a 4 seed rather. So they're the 4 seed the year before. They achieved the 1 seed the year after. And now everybody's just penciling them in as, oh, well, they're the best team in the East. Well, first of all, they're starting this season not fully healthy. The East is this hodgepodge of teams that could be on the rise, but we're not really sure. And the Cavs, they're owning this mentality of, oh, we can do this. We know we can do this. We are waiting for the playoffs. It starts to put together an equation and a formula of a team that's going to underachieve this season. And I'm not saying they won't be a top 3 seed.
We saw that firsthand.
I wouldn't be surprised, say, if they're the 3 seed, right? I'm not saying they're going to be a horrid team. They're going to be at the bottom of the East, or they're going to be in the mid-tier play-in tier of the East. I'm saying, is the number 1 seed guaranteed for the Cavs? Absolutely not at this point in time.
Well, and you know what?
We saw tonight.
Guys, I'll say this too. 2 things. One, there is no runaway favorite in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I think there is about like 8 teams you look at the East you could point to and be like, yeah, I mean, they could come out of the East. Like maybe if the thing goes the right way, like, yeah. That's how close the East is. 1. 2, I think there's an arrogance to Cleveland. And there is a Darius Garland quote that came out about a week ago. And it was essentially saying, oh, when we're all healthy, we can do it. We know we can do it. We just got to stay healthy. And it reminded me of the Kristaps Porzingis quote last year in January, where he's like, honestly, it's a compliment that teams are beating us. And you sit there and you think to yourself, like, there is an arrogance. And I remember Bill Simmons was calling out the Celtics for it all season long, and let it go right over my head. There's an arrogance to them. There's an arrogance to them. They're going to bite. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot. There's an arrogance to them. And Cleveland, through an early 5 games, guys, I think there's an arrogance to them. I think they're a little too cocky for their own good. This is a team that has not gotten past the second round since LeBron James's exit. And I think it could shoot themselves in the foot. And I do believe there's a real arrogance to them that they need to check at the door.
Yeah, I agree. And I also really do agree with Seamus in the fact that their roster, it's not as good as people think, especially when a guy like Garland's out. And when you can't trust a team to be healthy, it's kind of uncomforting to look at that roster. I mean, you look at the first game when they played the Knicks, I believe, like we're watching that national television, you're watching them kind of get blown out in that game. Like you look from roster to roster and match them up. It doesn't look amazing in my opinion. So I think there's a depth problem in Cleveland. Like we said, Garland's not playing, Merrill's out. There are some guys that are missing, but you lose a piece like Ty Jerome coming off the bench, 6-man, giving you steady points every single night. I mean, that's something that you have to replace. And we can't necessarily say that they did that. So there's a chance this team is not as good as they were last season. And so for them to have that arrogance, in my eyes, it's definitely something to be concerned with. And it also shows that because the East is wide open, there should be a level of hungerness. There should be a level of, they should be starving to get that number 1 spot and go back there, but it doesn't seem that way.
You're right.
No, and I wanted to mention this. I think the big thing, obviously you could pinpoint Garland being out and everything, but I think one thing where you see their depth is a problem is Tyrese Proctor is getting 9 minutes and playing in points of the game where it's an intense game. And I want to say that because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we drafted Amari Williams over him. Correct? I believe so.
Yes.
So that's a guy where if you could think that late in the draft, that's a guy who's going to be getting a lot of minutes in meaningful time. I just don't like that. But at the same time, I do believe further down the road, this team is going to become better. However, they are not the same dominant team that they were last year. It's obvious. It's right in front of us that they aren't that Cleveland Cavaliers team that everyone feared and was like, all right, this is a team we don't want to mess around with in regular season. Come playoffs, it's a different circumstance because, again, like you said, they don't do a whole lot, but it's still a team where I think later in the season, you're still going to see they're going to be a top 3 seed. I'm not saying number 1, but I still think they're going to be in the hunt for top 3. and they're going to be around there because they still have guys like Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell who can lead a team. Because you look at it, if Jason Tatum was healthy and you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum leading the Celtics this year, I think they fall to a higher team anyways. And I think they're in the hunt because this is a weak East. And that might be a hot take, but
no, not at all.
Yeah, and I feel very easily that Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell can lead this Cleveland Cavalier team to be up in the hunt for the top 3 seed. I believe that's in mention, but I don't think they're going to have the same dominance because you guys mentioned it. They're not 15-0 like we saw last year. It's a complete different look. They're battling with injuries. Garland's out. And I looked at this and I really thought Ty Jerome was a bigger hit, losing him in the offseason. And I really was not happy with that. And I was like, they lost guys, and you bring in Lonzo Ball, but this isn't a guy who's really gonna fill the shoes of a Ty Jerome, because I thought him coming off the bench was excellent. And you have Lonzo Ball, who hasn't played a whole ton, has been dealing with injuries. So you kind of substitute him out for Ty Jerome, and it's a loss.
They're different players.
You know what? Real quick, like, what substance does Cleveland have coming off the bench? I mean, maybe we did underplay the Ty Jerome thing. I mean, you got Dean Wade, you got Lonzo Ball, you got really, like, is anything there?
Well, even like, I want to mention this before we go further here, because I think this is important. This is an important component of the conversation tonight, or even compared to last season, right? Let's just take all the names in which were not on court tonight, who were on court last season for the Cavaliers. Right. So no Ty Jerome, no Isaac Okoro, right? Okay, he was traded for Lonzo Ball. So technically that's the Isaac Okoro replacement, Lonzo Ball there. But also no Darius Garland, as we're saying, as well as no Max Strus, no Sam Merrill, and no Dean Wade. So, I mean, that's a pretty substantial talent loss. Those are what? That's 5 guys? 5 guys or 6 guys, essentially, and or you replace one of them, essentially. But the rest, you're not replacing in the lineup because they're either out or whatever's going on with them tonight. But that's a substantial talent loss for a team that won 64 games last year. And coming into this season, everybody's thinking, oh, well, they're just gonna run the table again in the East. They should grab the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed, and they should own a chance to make the finals if they're healthy. Well, this team is not healthy at all, and this team has not been healthy for quite a while now. So to just pencil the Cavaliers in as the dominant team of the East this year, I think would be a fallacy, unfortunately. But the Cavaliers, as we saw tonight, not exactly up to their standard this season yet. They did come in 3-1, but the 2 losses have not looked great. It was against the New York Knicks on opening night, or not rather on opening night, but their first game of the season. And then the Celtics tonight, another game on ESPN. So two losses on ESPN for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But a huge factor in that loss for the Cavs was the Celtics shooting. And somebody who got that shooting going early was Sam Hauser. Finally, Sam Hauser's getting going. He's not been too bad from 3 this season, although, he's been a little quiet in the point totals. And obviously as well, the starting role of Sam Hauser has been up in the air, which has put his status with the team. Some people question what exactly, or, what's the future of Sam Hauser going to look like in Boston. But tonight, shot 6 of 11 from 3, was 5 of 6 at one point coming out of the first quarter, and then started the game 4 of 4, really got things going for the Celtics early. But looking at Sam Hauser's performance tonight, how did the Celtics generate the same looks for Sam Hauser moving forward? Because we talked about a lot earlier. We talked a lot about it earlier. The Celtics generated a lot of open looks, and a huge beneficiary to that tonight was Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser was a huge beneficiary to those looks. But how do the Celtics actually generate more of those looks for Sam Hauser? And how does Sam Hauser actually find his groove moving forward?
Well, do you mind if I start this off, Andrew?
Go for it.
Yeah. I think Sam Hauser coming off the bench is such a key piece. And, I think having him be the starting power forward for the Boston Celtics, again, I think we talked about this the other night, Seamus, with Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard, how it's kind of a like long-term longevity, how, you know, the longer player gets a start. And I think that's what they were looking with Sam Hauser, but I feel like he's a lot more comfortable coming off the bench. And I love seeing him come off the bench. And I have to say, I was talking about this earlier too, and I said it, I think, in my initial thought, but you know, it really reminded me of the Wizards game where he almost broke the record and he was just firing on all cylinders. But I think just having him come off the bench and giving him those valuable minutes. I mean, he's gonna shoot the three ball and he's gonna suck at times, but you know, that's the risk I think Joe Mazzulla is willing to take. And I look at this, and we were talking all last year about, you know, having Baylor Shireman be the cheap replacement for him. And it showed tonight that this is still a guy who can come out and still have an effective game. I mean, tonight he had 21 points in 21 minutes. And I think he had like 9 points in a minute and then 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and shot 53.8% from the field goal. So he was shooting great tonight. And, you know, he was very effective. And even the shots that he missed, I was still fine with him taking those because they were good looks. You know, there were other players who, again, we're going to talk about later, that it was bad looks. And even if it was a good look, it was way off, but he had good shots. And I think that's the thing. I think he knows what he's going to shoot. And he's not a player that's going to go out there and overshoot. I think he knows when his time is, and he's a player that can really pass the ball too when he knows he's not open. So I was just very impressed by the role that Sam Hauser had tonight, and I hope to keep seeing this throughout the season. And I think if he comes off the bench, he's going to be a very valuable piece for this Boston Celtics team moving forward in this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hauser was he got open because his teammates got him open. There was a lot of, as Rob mentioned, a lot of off-ball screening, a lot of dribble penetration, kickouts. Like, the Celtics offensively were not as stagnant as they have been in these last couple of games. And I thought that's the reason why Hauser got open looks. It's because they weren't standing still. They were moving off the ball. And that's how they were generating their offense. And so because of that, Hauser was able to have more open looks that he was able to knock down. And that's really all it was. It was simple as that. I mean, they just generated better looks because they were moving off ball on offense, and they were just getting into their offense earlier in possessions, giving themselves a better chance to get open looks, to move the defense around, to make them have to work on the defensive end. And then they just took advantage of the mistakes the defense made. That's really what it was about.
Yeah, and Sam Hauser, the huge point, I think he is a player for the Celtics. A huge point that goes unmentioned with him is Sam Hauser will always benefit off of what the ball handlers are doing or not, right? Because if we're watching an offense of the Celtics running in the mud, right? Like we did the first couple of games where the Celtics are dribbling into nowhere. They're not really, Jaylen Brown, the patented Jaylen Brown move the first couple games was that play where he rubbed his hairline off on OG Anunoby. Yeah. I mean, aside from that funny moment, right, in which I'm glad he was able to joke about it on his stream, but that moment, right, that play sort of epitomized the Celtics offense for the first couple of games. It was Jaylen Brown driving in, just kind of doing this, right? Just waving his head around everywhere. And then where's the ball going? Who knows? Is he going to throw up a contested shot, an inefficient mid-range shot? Is he going to kick out? And that's the moment, right? That's the moment Sam Hauser either benefits or does not. Because if Sam Hauser is receiving a pass at the last second and he just has to throw up a shot, or this shot is kind of open, but this guy's closing out on me, I see a hand in my face, those shots are not as good and not as efficient as shots that are coming off of like you mentioned, Andrew, dribble penetration, those kickouts to the corner, those kickouts to the wing, and those extra swing passes as well. I mean, that's what made the Celtics so dominant the last couple seasons, is their ability to make that extra pass, their ability to make those complex reads, specifically starting with Jason Tatum as the ball handler, and then it going and trickling down to guys like Derek White and Drew Holiday, those type of players who were able to then redistribute the ball, either shooting it themselves or, oh, I'm going to make that extra pass. And it felt like more of those extra passes were made tonight. And I still think the Celtics, there's another level to go to when it comes to that, because
Agreed.
the Celtics team is not up to, I mean, I again hate to compare the championship roster with this roster because it's incomparable, but the championship roster, to reiterate it, the championship roster is where the Celtics want to go. That's the standard. But that team, with ultimately the way in which they were able to win, I mean, there were a lot more extra passes within that offense. The reads were definitely more advanced per se than what the Celtics team is putting up right now. But I still believe this team is coming along. Okay, like
It was better.
right now,
Yeah, I mean, it was
this
better,
game
right?
tonight, the Cavs defense, I'm not impressed with. I'm not impressed with their roster, and we mentioned the talent that the Cavaliers lost. Really, just not lost entirety this season, but just tonight, right? The bodies who weren't out on the floor tonight versus last season in a typical Celtics versus Cavs matchup. Okay, timeout. I'm hosting right now, so this person's gonna get a shout out. All right, folks. I'm gonna shout out Brooke Barons here on the bottom, who says,
What's up,
"Hey."
Brooke?
Well, there we go. Get everybody to say hey. Hey, everybody. Everybody throw up comments saying hey to Brooke. There's the shout out, by the way. There's the shout out.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate
The
it.
shout out. I got there was a lot of controversy over the non-shout out, the lack of a shout out the other night, but there's the shout out.
There
I
we go.
I don't know. Do I get a trophy? Do I get something?
No,
for this?
we're
I
just
don't know.
being good
I don't know.
people.
I don't know.
But I
Good
will
people.
say for
Good
the
people.
Cavs, also, I mean for the Celtics also, this tonight they just looked like they knew where their teammates were going to be. And that's something that is understated. But when Jaylen Brown puts his head down and starts just kind of doing his thing, starts dribbling around and doesn't know where he's going, your teammates also don't know where you're going. And so it's harder to set screens. It's harder to make plays, and the spacing gets messed up. There's a lack of connectivity between your teammates. And that's really where the Celtics struggled with in other games and are now improving on, which is giving Sam Hauser better looks and better opportunities to put the ball in the hoop.
No, yeah. Oh, you're good to go, Seamus. I lost it.
Griffin,
Go ahead.
walk over me. My lord, this is a talk show. You will never, Griffin. You will never be penalized for talking on a talk show.
No, I had what. All right. This is what I was gonna say.
Unless you talk about the wrong things.
I know. Let me start.
But I have faith in you, Griffin.
Yeah. All right. Well, no, I agree. And one thing I do have to mention too is the Boston Celtics. Like, I think the big thing is, and you guys already mentioned it, the Cavs defense was just stagnant tonight, and the Celtics were finding so many open looks. And I think the thing was too, they've been getting open looks, but they were able to hit tonight. And that's the thing. They were hitting all their shots, and Sam Hauser being one of them. I don't know if it was one where, you're going to have nights where you're going to shoot and make everything. You're going to have nights that you're going to be a walking brick. But the Boston Celtics, it wasn't just one or two players hitting tonight. It was the whole team. And Sam Hauser was a guy who was very effective tonight too. So just wanted to give that credit for the three ball, because Joe Mazzulla loves and lives by it. And that's how Sam Hauser competes. He's not a player who will attack in the paint. He's a player that will hit a corner three, and that's how he'll attack.
And real quickly, we're going to close out here soon. We'll do the look ahead. And I don't want to make a whole segment out of this because I want to save it for your podcast tomorrow, Griffin. But yes or no, is Josh Minot stapling himself within the starting lineup or to the starting lineup? Stapling in?
I'll give it yes.
Stapling.
I'm gonna say
stapled?
Yes.
Yes.
He definitely is.
I'm trending towards a yes as well.
Yeah.
So
I think his motor is so high. He like he defends at a high level. He can guard some of the best players on the opposing team and make their life difficult. He's always in the right spots on the defensive end. I mean, he just does all the right things in my opinion for the most part. And with his ability to knock down that corner three, it just makes him hard to take off the court. And I also think in some ways him starting and having Hauser come off the bench, like you almost get this spark from Hauser when you come off the bench and you get him potentially heating up and start knocking down shots. Like, I don't know, maybe that's kind of something that we can utilize because I think big threes off the bench, like a Mike Miller, or a Kyle Korver, where you come off the bench, you start knocking down shots and get the crowd involved to get the game going. Like maybe that's more valuable to us. And then having Minot start the game off with defensive intensity, play the game from the jump, setting the tone, and then you get a guy like Hauser come off the bench. That's what I see right now.
Yeah, I think Minot, the biggest factor and theme of Minot, he's an all-around player.
Mm-hmm.
So he's easier to plug and play with that starting lineup because
Definitely.
he can kind of do both. On both ends of the floor, he can put up production. He can be an effective cutter. He can hit that corner three. I think he's a developing shooter still. That the shot doesn't look amazing all the time. There seems to be this little hitch at the kind of midway point with his shot, but he's still a developing shooter. He's shown the ability that he's not afraid to shoot the ball, which that's a huge thing Joe Mazzulla puts into these guys' heads. I mean, just be aggressive, shoot the ball. I mean, with Anthony Simons, he's telling Anthony Simons to be aggressive on defense, and then he's telling Josh Minot, man, shoot the ball on the offensive end of the floor. But that ability to shoot the ball will come along. An effective cutter he is. Defensively, he's one of the more versatile defenders alongside Hugo Gonzalez and just Jaylen Brown himself. To think about some of the best defenders on the Celtics, it's Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Hugo Gonzalez, and Minot. I mean, Minot's probably, he might be top 3, top 4 there, but versatile defender can get after it on both ends of the floor. He's easier to plug and play with that starting lineup compared to, say, Hauser, who's going to lack defensively, and offensively he's going to give you that spark plug, and that's, it's a little easier to bring those guys off the bench because okay, their role, they're going to be slotted in at these moments of the game versus you're going to start the game, you're going to start the second half, and you might even close the game in some situations. But mentioning teams closing, okay, Griff, do you want to give another take here on Minot? I was going to save your segment for tomorrow, but I feel like we're a little overzealous on Minot right now.
Well, I kind of want to ask a question about Hauser then, because you mentioned that. Would you, because I know we were talking about issues of who we could put in down the stretch, would you consider Sam Hauser to be one of those guys then? Because what he did tonight was incredible, coming in, having 9 points in a minute. Would you consider putting him in at a later point in the game? What are your thoughts on that?
What are you talking about, Griffin?
Just being a really good player to come off the bench, and would you have more trust in Sam Hauser to give you late bucks?
So you're saying like down the stretch crunch time?
Yes,
so that's actually an interesting conversation. The question basically you're asking is, would you trust Sam Hauser over Josh Minot in a crunch time scenario or even a high pressure situation? You'd have to think the Celtics maybe at this point in time trust Hauser in those situations a lot more, but at the same time, they are probably more keen on the matchup more than anything else.
Right.
But understand, okay, if this matchup is going one way or the other, they're probably going to ride the hot hand most of the time, where they're going, okay, if Josh Minot fits in this matchup, we're not so much worried about this pressurized moment getting to him. But if, say, it's a big game in New York, that's what made no sense about Friday. Where was Josh Minot on Friday against the Knicks? A DNP-CD. He goes from a DNP-CD to basically stapling himself in the starting lineup. I mean, it's absolutely, I don't understand why that happened. That should have been discussed a little bit more on Friday, although that was the second game of the season. We weren't thinking, Josh Minot was going to be within that category of playing time potentially. As we welcome back Rob into the show. Welcome back, Rob.
My computer just it's plugged in and it just decided tonight it's gonna give me trouble. So
messed up, man.
Well, we're back.
Good timing here because we were about to close out. But Rob, I was gonna save this segment for when you were on. which
Are we talking
obviously right
Derek White?
now you're on.
Talking Derek White. There it
We're
is.
talking Derek White because Derek White
Oh
tonight
my
shot
God.
5 of 20 from the floor. And Derek White, this season, quite frankly, rough all the way through, especially shooting wise. But so far, and this is specifically for you, Rob, Derek White, what are you exactly seeing out of Derek White up to this point that's causing these lackluster performances?
I don't even know if we can call it a shooting slump, because the shots that he's taking are just downright putrid shots. There were a couple tonight where I was watching it and I literally was thinking to myself, what the actual bleep? Like, what are we doing here? There were 5 seconds of the shot clock from 35 feet out, dribble pull up, pump fakes, trying to drop. It was just Derek White. And I remember, Seamus, guys, all of you, we had this same conversation. I don't know if it was before, it might've been before Andrew and Griffin joined the program. There was a stretch last year, I want to say in January and February, where Derek White had the same problem. He needs to get downhill. He needs to get to the basket. Derek White is in this new role. So what we are seeing right now from Derek White, you asked, Seamus, we are seeing a whole lot of just bad shot selections. Derek White is still contributing at a high level on the defensive end. He is still playmaking in such, but the shots that Derek White is taking are just downright putrid. And I wish there was more to it. I wish I could come on here and say that he's in a shooting slump and he needs to do X, Y, or Z. But quite frankly, Derek White needs to get back to the basics in enough of the shot chucking. He's jacking them, Seamus. He is jacking up shots. He is shooting the ball at a volume in which is acceptable, but the selection is just awful. He needs to simplify the game. You talk about Derek White, and again, this is a conversation where maybe a lot of Derek White's success was playing off of Jason Tatum. We know how close those two are. We know how much those two enjoy playing with each other. Maybe Derek White thrives when he is working off ball and getting open looks. Well, then he needs to figure out how to do that. He needs to figure out how to play alongside Pritchard, Brown, and Simons, because those are three guys that can get Derek White the ball. Derek White's role, I'm starting to doubt if it even needs to change, because when I look at Derek White in his shot selection, I don't know if I trust him with the ball in his hands anymore. This is a player last year, over the past 2 years with the Celtics, since his first, or really past 3 years, but since his first full year here, but we'll call it 2024, his first real year starting for the Boston Celtics in that elevated role, he has been Mr. Reliable. You trust him with the ball in his hands. You know Derek White is going to make the right play. Guys, I'm starting to get worried when the ball touches his hands. The shots he's taking, the mistakes he's making, the locations in which he's on the floor, I don't like. So what does Derek White need to do, you might ask? Derek White needs to, I believe, start playing off of Peyton Pritchard, start playing off of Jaylen Brown, start playing off of Anthony Simons. I don't know right now, 5 games in, if Derek White is made for this role. Not because he doesn't have the ability to do it, but I believe because his shot selection is just too bad. It's like if you were to put Michael Porter Jr. in an elevated role, while you're seeing with Brooklyn, some of the shots he just takes, you scratch your head and you think, are you serious? And it's so upsetting. But if I'm Joe Mazzulla, I need to take a step back and question, okay, maybe Derek White's a 2. Maybe he's not a 1. And I'm not talking about best player on the team. I'm talking about position. Maybe Derek White is just a shooting guard, because it is inexcusable. The shots he took tonight, we won by 20 and we're able to weather the storm. But if this is a close game, guys, Derek White shoots the Celtics out of this game. It was that bad. It was truly, in my opinion, the worst game Derek White has had in a Celtic uniform. It was that putrid, and it upset me to a point where it's brought me to go on this rant, because I know the player Derek White can be. I've seen it, but it begs the question. Does Derek White rely on Jason Tatum, right? Can he figure this thing out with Jason Tatum? That is something that we need to do. And guys, I'm going to say it right here on the program. Derek White is the first highlighted player of the season, not his points. I'm not looking at his box score. I don't care even if 4 more of those shots went in. I'm still looking at the type of basketball Derek White is playing. I don't want to see him shot chucking anymore. I need to see him getting downhill, playing off of Pritchard, playing off of Brown, finding different ways, being a cutter, getting on the glass, taking a page out of the Pritchard and Minot book, contribute to the game in different areas. Stop with the 30-foot pull-ups. I mean, seriously, it is driving me up a wall. And it's going to cost the Celtics some games if it continues. It will.
Well, let me read through some numbers real quick in regard to Derek White. So tonight, Derek White shot 5 of 20 from the floor, as I already mentioned, 3 of 12 from 3. However, this is not the only game in which Derek White has not put up a great number from three. Let me read the rest of his game log this season from three. Last game against the New Orleans Pelicans, 1 of 9 from three. How about against the Pistons? 3 of 11 from three. He replicated that performance from Friday night when he shot 3 of 11 against the Knicks as well. And then to start the season, he shot 4 of 13 from three so far in 4 games. Now, not including tonight, this 5th game. But coming into tonight, he was shooting 32.9% from the floor and 25% from three. Those numbers certainly dwindled a little bit tonight with a 5 of 20 mark, 25% from the floor there, and 3 of 12. That's also 25%. So 25% from the floor and 25% from three. Derek White, the simple explanation to all of this, the shooting numbers, Derek White is a perfect player when you're playing him off of 2 superstars. Yet when you're asking him to man the offense, essentially, to drive the ship at times, I mean, that ship, it looks like SpongeBob and Patrick going by that rock with the Flying Dutchman. It's like, you're good, you're good, you're good. And it's just scraping up against the rock. And you're going, this is not, we need a different driver here. Where's Tatum? Like, what is going on? That is exactly what, I mean, I don't want to say that's exactly, because I feel like the Celtics are a little more competent than that, but at the same time, Derek White is just not really meant for the role he's suited for right now. And that was part of the conversation, or part of the tangent I went on the other night on Postgame, where I was talking about how Derek White is really this complementary player. You want him to be more of a 3 or 4, honestly. I mean, and in terms of your hierarchy of who's handling the ball, you want his actions to be mostly off of the secondary action, right? The first action has already happened from Brown or Tatum, and Derek White is the second guy making decisions off, or on the fly rather. Now, Derek White, it's the simple factor of, instead of Derek White receiving that pass and doing something within the flow and rhythm and motion of the offense, he's now asked to initiate the offense. That's much different than simply making an action, making a decision, making a quick decision off the flow of the offense. He is initiating the offense. And right now, he just, for his own isolation game, right? I mean, I still believe Derek White, he knows how to play make. He understands how to do that. He understands his role within that category of offense. But scoring the basketball, oh my goodness, I completely agree with you, Rob. The shot selection, he has no idea when to shoot. And I think it's part of, I think it has to do with his come up in basketball. If anybody was listening to his pod over the summer and just noticed Derek White's also, like, his start in the D2 ranks, right? Going to Colorado, getting picked 30th by the San Antonio Spurs, slotting into that organization, and then eventually shipping up to Boston. His entire road, he's never necessarily been asked to be the guy, right? He's always had to be the unselfish player playing off of others. And he plays that role really well. And actually, really, the last time he was asked to be the guy was in San Antonio, and that team was under 500. It was him and DeJounte Murray in the background, or rather in the backcourt. And that team, I'm not saying that was a terrible backcourt, because we know those guys went on to do better things with better teams, but that backcourt was not the most efficient backcourt. Derek White, I understand he can do great things with great players, and he's done great things these last couple of seasons with the Celtics, but he's slotted into a role that's just not meant for him. He's asked to initiate the offense. He's asked to shoot the ball, and he has no idea when to shoot the ball. If he's asked to shoot the ball 20 times a game, the reason he's only making 5 shots is because all 20 shots, he has no idea where those are supposed to come when on the floor. And it's about as simple as that when it comes to Derek White.
And I think another frustrating aspect to this thing is that I believe Derek White has every intangible and ability on the basketball court to do what he's being asked to do. It's the simple, you said it, he's shooting 25% from the floor and from the three. If this was a shooting slump through the first 5 games and you're watching tape and you're like, missed open 3, catch and shoot corner, missed open shot, we're feeling good. You'll figure it out. We know who Derek White is. But the play style, you would, if you were to cover Derek White and put him in a blur, right? And give it to somebody who's watched every Celtics game, right? Maybe change up the jumper, maybe fix something so it looks a little different. you wouldn't believe it was Derek White. The shots he's taking, the play style has changed drastically. And for me, it poses the question of, all right, when is enough for Joe? When you're Joe, right? And I'm not putting any blame on Joe Mazzulla here, right? None. But at some point, something's got to give, and you got to go up to Derek and say, we got to change something. This isn't working. These shots aren't going in. These are bad shots, because I do believe in the Joe Mazzulla offense. Mazzulla ball, obviously, I've bought in on Mazzulla ball. It works. It won a championship. But this isn't Mazzulla ball. This is bad basketball that White's playing. He's taking objectively bad shots. Those 3 threes he made, if he keeps playing like this, he'll be a 25% three-point shooter. It's just who he'll be. He's taking 10 a game. That's who he'll be, right? He'll make 2 or 3 every game. And it's just, I think the most frustrating part about it, guys, is we've seen White do it. We've seen it where Tatum's out and White needs to step into the lineup, and he can do it. But for some reason, I don't know if it was a mental thing. I don't know if it was something that was said on in the locker room with Joe's like, okay, Derek, this is how we need you to play this year. Something changed drastically in Derek White's game, in his shot selection. And I'll tell you what, if it continues, it's going to cost the Celtics some games, and it's going to hinder their ability to compete in this Eastern Conference, because Derek White is an X factor this year. I mean, he might be the X factor. We all relied on Derek White to take a huge jump, to be an all-star caliber player. And all-star caliber players do not take these types of shots. I would look at Jason Tatum and say, what the hell are you doing if he was taking these shots? And that's Jason Tatum. That is a $315 million player. That is a 4-time All-NBA. That is an NBA champion. That I would look at him and say that. I look at Curry. I look at Steph Curry if he's taking these shots, and I'd say, really? Like, they're that bad.
He'd probably be making them, let's face it.
They're that bad. I was like, what am I? It was like 4 possessions. 3 of them ended with a Derek White 30-foot pull-up with 15 seconds left on the shot clock. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, one thing
that's where the tenure goes, and the confidence goes way overboard over the substance. It's like more team basketball, less. Yes. Oh, you've been here. You got to do this. Go ahead, Griffin.
Well, one thing I want to mention, and Rob, you kind of hit on it a little bit, is what was mentioned in the locker room. Is there too much pressure being put on Derek White? Like, I think this is the misconception. I think going into this season, it was kind of a toss-up. Will Derek White have nights where he's the number one guy? Will Jaylen Brown have nights where he's the number one guy? And I think that might just be too much pressure. But I even during the game, and I'm happy we brought this up, because I asked, I was like, is Derek White underwhelming this season? Because it's been rough. But I do have confidence in Derek White, because you saw that preseason game. I think he had a fine game, but players get in slumps, and it's something that he needs to talk about with his trainer and needs to study film. And I like what you said, Rob, potentially go back to the basics, because right now it's not the best basketball that he's playing, but it's something that I think when we get into, game 10, if we're still seeing this issue, what's the result? Like, how do we resolve this? Because this is an issue that I don't think can continue for long. And I'm looking at this, I think it's going to turn around. I feel like he's in a player slump. I feel like the Boston Celtics as a whole have been in a slump at the early part of this season, and now, at times break out of it, like tonight and against the Pelicans. So I'm very confident that he could turn it around. I'm just scratching my head, because there were a lot of possessions tonight where I agree. I was like, you shouldn't be shooting that the whole time. Like,
even some possessions where he's throwing like grenades to guys.
Yeah,
yes.
Look it up. It's like you're holding the ball at the top of the court, waiting to get into this offense. You're just kind of dribbling around. You're kind of letting the shot clock wind down, and then you're at 12 seconds. I feel like I've seen this many times from White. 12 seconds, you're saying to yourself, oh crap, I got to get into this offense. I got to go. And then he speeds up, and then that leads to a bad shot chucking.
Yeah.
Playing against a set defense. I did see that with White. And I think it really comes down to right now, and this is going to be a story for the whole team and something that they have to embody. It's, how do I play to my strengths? How do I play to what I'm capable of? How do I play within my game and do what I do best to the best of my ability, and really put that on a pedestal? Because that's when you're going to see the Celtics come alive, when each player plays into their role and completely accepts it and then goes from there. And I think Derek White, whether or not he's been told to take a step up into a different role or he's putting this own pressure on himself, he needs just to play basketball the way he can play, the way he's been playing. So it's really a simple fix. It's go back to what you're good at, what you produced us and given us these past couple of seasons.
I'm
And
hesitant
I'll
to call it a
say,
slump.
I'll say, extending from Andrew's point real quick, the White play, the reason he might be playing so far out of his role and to the best of his capabilities, that might be a byproduct of how this team is built. Because who else is supposed to take over that role, right? If we're asking
Right.
Brown to do literally everything, and then we know that's not going to work. We've had that conversation many times. But then Derek White is sitting there in that secondary role, and to me, he's never been asked in his entire basketball career to be an isolation scorer at a high volume. And right now, he's in a developmental phase of doing that. And I'm not sure that you can develop as that player post 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've
how
never
many
seen
times
this,
have we really seen that? I mean, Norman Powell maybe, but Norman Powell was quite a scorer at the beginning of his career, and that was kind of the selling point to his game. So I'm a little skeptical on if Derek White can actually. I believe he can fix the efficiency problems because he can take better shots, but I still believe there's going to be a deficit within his game because the Celtics are slotting him into a role that's simply too big for him. I mean, he's
Right.
like this little guy trying to eat all this food, and he can eat some of it, but he's probably not going to eat all of it.
And that's where I see
Derek
Rob,
White is.
that's where I see where you're concerned. Is this really a slump where that comes in? Because he's almost in this like purgatory, right? Where it's like, we want you to play yourself, but then we also want you to step up. But I'm in limbo right now. You know what I mean? You're asking me to do one thing, but then you're asking me to do another thing. So it's like, what do you want me to do? You know, like how do I really go about this? So it's almost like a lack of direction in what we're asking from him. And so that's something that needs to be figured out. And then it's also, I mean, that's I had another thought. Unfortunately, I lost
This
it.
is not the Derek White that we decided to not trade the 9th pick for from the Toronto Raptors. If that were that, this isn't the player. This is not the guy. In no universe is this the player that I considered untouchable this offseason. The guy that apparently held the value of an NBA superstar in the trade market, right? The guy that was proclaimed untouchable. The guy where maybe you could have kept Kristaps for, right? You move White and you get to keep Kristaps. Like this isn't the guy.
The thing is, though, he was a superstar in his role. He's a superstar in what he did. Is he a superstar on the? I'm saying
you're bringing White back into his role, and he's 34.
Yeah.
When Tatum comes back, he's 34. It's like, okay, now do we have another Drew Hall? And again, I hate to go so down the rabbit hole, but it's like it is genuinely that concerning to me. It is I know it's only 5 games, and I'm sure this is all going to work out, and I'll look like an idiot in 20 games from now at the 25 game mark. But
it's reasonable concern.
It is that ugly. It is genuinely that ugly. It is like Derek White went from a 10 to a 6. Like it is genuinely that ugly. And it is very worrisome. It is very, very worrisome in my book. So he's highlighted, but he'll have a chance to redeem himself, guys, Friday against the Sixers or an NBA Cup. And this is our second match again. I think we played the Sixers like 3 times in the first 12 games. It's ridiculous. We're seeing a whole lot of Philadelphia 76ers, the red hot Sixers. That is, I mean, they're playing some good ball. You see them last night, heckling those Wizards fan, big comeback win for them, and Embiid and Edgecombe and Maxey in the MVP conversation. What are you guys looking for out of the Celtics Philly game? NBA Cup game 1, rematch against Philly, a game we could have won, and Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe had other plans. What are you guys looking for out of the Celtics?
Imagine being that Wizards fan with a pink Jordan Poole jersey on, watching your beloved Wizards team go down to the Philadelphia 76ers, and then you have hobbled old man Embiid going, and grabbing his nuts. I mean, it was. I mean, I'm surprised. Did Embiid see a fine from that? I'm surprised. The celebration was definitely over. Like the whole video. Embiid celebrate. Yes, it was the whole. Yep.
And you're sitting there as a fan, and you're just like, I can't do anything about it. I just have to.
But the Sixers. Hopefully, we won't see that. We won't see GRD like like Joel Embiid and GRD on Friday. Like maybe GRD actually is doing that to Joel Embiid. I want to see. I want to see that.
I wouldn't put it past him.
But Friday, Sixers Celtics. I mean, the obvious point here is Maxey, Edgecombe. You can't let him go for 70 again. I mean, that's the huge. I said that the other day, and hey, gotta say, tonight's returning against Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, 5 of 12 tonight, held at bay for the most part. Got to think that was a pretty nice performance, considering we talked about coming into tonight. The Celtics, they might get eaten up by these smaller guards this year. These smaller, quicker guards. The Celtics defense, less experienced with less ability, and you can tell the angles on defense, right? A lot of guys, especially, I mean, even tonight, the Cavs, they didn't really convert on their opportunities, but it's easier to drive past this Celtics defense than it has been in the past. Clearly, just with the players who are on the floor and then the backline help that's involved, it's easier to drive around the Celtics defense. And that's why it seems as if smaller guards, quicker guards could get around the Celtics this season. So far, we saw Maxey and Edgecombe do that in game 1. Yet in game 5 here tonight, Donovan Mitchell didn't do that. We didn't see Garland at all. And maybe it gives us a little bit of hope that Friday will be a little bit different of a story against Maxey and Edgecombe and the Sixers, who are coming in that game with some confidence. Okay, the Sixers, they're starting to rise. They're starting to raise their stock a little bit, increase their stock. I mean, last year their stock plummeted. 13th seed in the East coming into this season, the direction is a little unclear. They don't even have Paul George yet. The identity is a little unclear still, but your identity, ultimately, when you just keep winning games, right? When you just keep winning games game after game, that becomes your identity. No matter how you're doing it, you're just winning games, and how you're doing it, that becomes the theme of the team. And so far, although the Sixers don't own that definitive identity between the players and their entire rotation, they're winning ball games, and that's the important part. But the Celtics, they have a chance to stop that on Friday.
Yeah, and I wanted to say and mine's simple, is keep the momentum going. The Boston Celtics have picked up 2 wins, and this is one of their better wins. I take this win 10 times out of 10 over the Pelicans win, is keep the momentum going. The guys are in sync right now. You look like a pretty darn good team from tonight's game. Keep the momentum going. It's a big stage. They're trying to make this in-season tournament a big thing. Go out there and go get those Sixers. Keep the momentum going. Keep the guys fired up. Keep it going. And that's plain and simple what they got to do. They got to keep the momentum going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first of all, I'm just going to say, give VJ Edgecombe his flowers. So, give him his respect. Because, the first game, he's a rookie coming off the starting the game. We'll see how it goes. You're not playing him defensively to what he deserves. Let's give VJ Edgecombe the respect he deserves, because he's a talented player. So don't underestimate him. And then kind of going off what Griffin is saying, keep the momentum going. Let's just keep Minot in that starting lineup, have a little more of a consistent lineup in these next couple of games where you guys know where they're going to be. Guys find some rhythm in their offense. And I think that's something that we can find. And then finally, just defensively, offensively, the entirety of the game, just play to that high level of intensity, work hard on defense, create turnovers, and win that battle during the game. And you're going to give yourself a fighting chance against the Sixers.
And I want to add one more thing here before we close out. 2 stats real quick from via Celtics stats on Twitter or X or whatever anybody calls it nowadays.
Who knows?
8 Celtics scored in double digits tonight against Cleveland, marking the first time they've accomplished that feat since November 1st, 2023 against the Indiana Pacers. So remember that game where the Celtics blew out the Pacers by 55 points and just went crazy? That was the first couple games of the season. That was the last time 8 Celtics scored in double digits. That was a championship team. So, hey, this team is running parallels to the championship team. This is why we have to compare them so much. But another stat, and to add on to what the Celtics need to do on Friday, rebound the basketball. Right? The rebounds tonight.
Oh,
Justin wasn't on here to talk about it, but the Celtics rebounding tonight, I mean, that was about as perfect of a rebounding performance as one could have hoped for following the first couple of games of the season. The last two performances, the Celtics are certainly on the uptick in that category, and two Celtics who embody that the most tonight. Josh Minott and Neemias Queta. Minott comes away from this game with 14 rebounds, Queta with 13. Both set career highs in the rebounding department tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So congratulations to Josh Minott and Neemias Queta. There are two great rebounders on the Celtics developing. And of course, there are two pieces in which the Celtics need to see perform in the rebounding category on Friday against the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, you stole what I was going to say. I was going to say crash the glass is the most important thing. But from an offensive standpoint, you're good. From an offensive standpoint, keep the ball flying. I really liked how the ball was moving and being distributed. Attack the paint and kick out, because honestly, they have been two parts to this. One, Boston did a phenomenal job at attacking a very interior heavy defense with Mobley and Allen down there. Philly, last time we saw Embiid, he looked like he was hobbled out there, and he played better against Washington, but he still looks like he's getting his groove back. So, go ahead and beat as much as you can, get downhill, get that ball moving, start off hot in that second quarter. Is huge. Don't let your foot off the gas. You find different ways. It might look a little different against Philly, right? I'd love to see the Celtics team find different ways to start winning some games, right? If the shot's not falling, have a step back you can lean back on. And then from a defensive end, you guys are absolutely right. You guys all touched on it, but keep Maxey in front of you. Do not let Maxey get going early. I mean, once the second, he's the same caliber of player as Mitchell. If you let Maxey get going early, you're in for a long night. He will torch you in every way. Step back threes, getting downhill to the rim, making plays on defense, and then running in transition. I mean, the guy can kill you from every angle of the game from an offensive standpoint. So just contain Maxey early, because that could be the difference maker for the Celtics. And also, lastly, before we close out, I do just want to say it's the NBA Cup. Celtics maybe not compete for a championship, but hey, maybe we could get ourselves an NBA Cup here in the midseason. So that starts Friday night against the Philadelphia 76ers at 7 o'clock Eastern time in Philadelphia. Again, that's an NBA Cup game, guys. The first NBA Cup game that the Celtics will be playing on this season. As for tonight, guys, the Celtics, they pick up their second straight win at home this time against the Cleveland Cavaliers. 125-105 was their final score. Again, a big-time win for the Celtics. Guys, I just want to say before we close the show, if you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, stop what you're doing and do that right now, because we would appreciate the support you guys have been showing us. It's a long season when we're super excited to cover you guys cover the Boston Celtics every game, all 82 games, and hopefully into the playoffs all season long. And while you're at it, turn on post notifications so you guys get notified every time we go live, not just after the final buzzer. Again, guys, we'll see you Friday night after the final buzzer sounds in Philadelphia, right back here on the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel. I'm Robbie. Next to me is my man Griffin Aldrich, Andrew Quinn, and Seamus Zarlingo. Guys, until next time, you know the drill. Go Celtics.